For over 1,000 years, a great empire stood at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, a bastion of Roman heritage, Christian faith, and imperial ambition, a city of marble and gold, walls and towers that resisted countless sieges, and a civilization that preserved the knowledge of the ancient world while shaping the destiny of the medieval era. This is the story of the Byzantine Empire, the Eastern Roman state that rose from the ashes of the Western Empire, flourished under emperors like Justinian I, withstood the relentless advance of foreign powers, and ultimately fell to the Ottoman Turks in 1453, yet whose influence endures in law, religion, art, and culture to this day. If you enjoy videos like this, hit the subscribe button for more fascinating history. The story begins in the early 4th century, when the Roman Empire faced internal divisions, administrative crises, and threats along its vast frontiers. In 293, Emperor Diocletian implemented the Tetrarchy, dividing rule among 4 emperors to stabilize the administration, but it was Constantine the Great who would alter the course of history, defeating his rival Licinius in 324, consolidating imperial power, and founding a new capital on the site of Byzantium, which he formally dedicated as Constantinople in 330, a city strategically positioned on the Bosporus to control trade between Europe and Asia and defend against incursions from the north and east. Constantine's reign also marked the turning point for Christianity, as he promoted the faith with policies such as the Edict of Milan in 313, granting religious tolerance, and convened the First Council of Nicaea in 325 to establish doctrinal unity, thereby shaping the religious identity of the Eastern Empire. After the death of Theodosius I in 395, the empire was permanently divided between East and West, with the Western Roman Empire collapsing by 476 under the pressure of Germanic invasions, while the Eastern Empire endured, drawing upon its more robust economy, stronger cities, and strategic geography. Over the next century, the Eastern Roman Empire consolidated its administration and Hellenized culture, facing intermittent threats from the Goths, Persians, and later the Avars, while maintaining the Roman legal and bureaucratic framework that would define Byzantium for centuries. In 527, Justinian I ascended to the throne, a visionary ruler determined to restore Roman glory, and launched ambitious military campaigns to reconquer former Roman territories, dispatching his general Belisarius to reclaim North Africa from the Vandals by 534, and later moving into Italy to wrest control from the Ostrogoths between 535 and 554, in a protracted series of campaigns culminating in the recapture of Rome, though at great human and financial cost. Justinian's reign also produced the Corpus Juris Civilis between 529 and 534, codifying centuries of Roman law into a coherent system that would influence legal traditions for a millennium, and oversaw the construction of monumental architecture such as the Hagia Sophia, completed in 537, symbolizing imperial and religious authority. Yet Justinian's rule faced enormous challenges, including the Nika riots of 532, when factions known as the Blues and Greens nearly toppled the emperor during a massive urban uprising that killed tens of thousands, and the outbreak of the Plague of Justinian in 541, which struck Constantinople and the provinces, killing perhaps a third of the population and weakening the empire's manpower. And the outbreak of the Plague of Justinian in 541, which struck Constantinople and the provinces, killing perhaps a third of the population and weakening the empire's manpower. After Justinian's death in 565, his successors struggled to maintain the territorial gains he had achieved, as much of Italy, parts of Spain, and North Africa gradually slipped from imperial control, while the eastern frontier faced persistent pressure from the Sassanid Persians. The 7th century brought a new existential threat with the rapid rise of Islam. Beginning in 632, Arab forces from the Arabian Peninsula launched campaigns that seized Syria, Palestine, and Egypt by 642, territories that had been crucial for the empire's grain supply and revenue, drastically reducing Byzantium's economic and strategic base, though Constantinople itself remained secure behind its formidable Theodosian walls. In 717-718, the empire faced a direct siege by the Umayyad Caliphate under Caliph Suleiman and the general Maslama, and survived in part due to naval superiority and the use of Greek fire, a flammable weapon deployed against enemy ships. The empire during this period was forced to adapt, transitioning from expansive conquests to a defensive posture, reorganizing provincial administration into the theme system, which combined military and civil authority under regional generals to improve local defense. The 8th and 9th centuries were further complicated by the iconoclast controversy initiated under Emperor Leo III in 726, which prohibited the veneration of religious images and led to decades of internal religious conflict, though the eventual restoration of icons under Empress Theodora in 843 marked a consolidation of orthodox religious practice and imperial authority. By the 10th century, the Macedonian dynasty ushered in a period of resurgence. Emperors such as Nikephoros II Phocas, John I Tzimiskes, and Basil II, who ruled from 976 to 1025, expanded the empire's borders, defeating Bulgarian and Arab forces and bringing the Balkans and parts of the eastern frontier under tighter imperial control, culminating in Basil II's epithet, the Bulgar Slayer, for his decisive victories over the Bulgarian Empire. Constantinople thrived as a center of trade culture and political authority, commanding key routes between Europe and Asia, yet the empire faced ongoing challenges from nomadic incursions, dynastic disputes, and the constant need to balance military expenditure with economic sustainability. The year 1054 marked the formal schism between the Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches, reflecting long-standing theological, cultural, and political tensions and creating a permanent division in Christendom that would influence subsequent relations with Western powers. In 1071, the empire suffered a catastrophic defeat at the Battle of Manzikert at the hands of the Seljuk Turks, resulting in the capture of Emperor Romanos IV of Diogenes and the gradual loss of much of Anatolia, Byzantium's key source of manpower and revenue, which set the stage for internal instability and civil wars that plagued the late 11th and 12th centuries. Despite the Komnenian restoration under Alexios I's Komnenos, John II and Manuel I, which brought temporary military and economic recovery, the empire remained vulnerable to external pressure and increasingly relied on mercenary forces and diplomatic maneuvering with Western powers. In 1204, during the Fourth Crusade, Western European crusaders diverted from their mission to the Holy Land and sacked Constantinople, driven by Venetian interests and Byzantine political disputes, resulting in the establishment of the Latin Empire and the fragmentation of Byzantine authority into successor states, such as Nicaea, Epirus, and Trebizond. Michael VIII Palaiologos recaptured Constantinople in 1261, restoring the Byzantine Empire, but the state had been severely weakened, with diminished territory, population, and resources, leaving it unable to recover its former strength. Over the following 2 centuries, the empire faced constant threats from rising Turkish principalities, the Ottomans and regional powers compounded by internal strife, economic decline, and debilitating civil wars, such as the conflict from 1341 to 1347, which further fractured imperial authority and drained the treasury, leaving Byzantium reduced to little more than Constantinople and scattered provinces by the 15th century. Finally, in 1453, after a 7-week siege employing massive cannons and relentless assault, Sultan Mehmed II breached the walls of Constantinople, and the last Byzantine emperor, Constantine I Palaiologos, reportedly fell defending the city, marking the definitive end of the Byzantine Empire and the last vestige of Roman imperial continuity, yet leaving a legacy of preserved classical knowledge, legal codification, Orthodox Christian tradition, and architectural achievements whose influence resonates to this day, demonstrating that while empires may fall, the civilization they cultivate can echo across centuries. In the late 13th and 14th centuries, the Byzantine Empire under the Palaiologos dynasty struggled to maintain authority over a shrinking realm, with emperors such as Andronikos II, or 1282-1328, facing financial crises, military defeats, and the erosion of central power as provincial magnates and foreign mercenaries gained influence, while the empire's territories in the Aegean, Thrace, and Asia Minor were gradually lost to rising powers. such as the Ottoman Turks, the Serbs, and the Bulgarians. Civil conflicts, including the brutal and protracted Byzantine Civil War of 1341 to 1347 between John V the Palaiologos and John VI Cantacuzenos, devastated the population, depleted the treasury, and further undermined imperial authority, leaving Constantinople increasingly isolated, both politically and economically, as Venice and Genoa vied for control over trade in the eastern Mediterranean, reducing the empire's access to vital revenues and strategic ports. The cultural and religious life of the empire continued to be vibrant despite these crises, with the Orthodox Church maintaining its central role in society, monasteries serving as centers of learning, and Constantinople itself remaining a hub of scholarship and art. Yet these achievements could not compensate for the relentless political and military pressures that beset the state. During the 15th century, the Ottomans under Sultan Murad II and later Mehmed II steadily expanded their holdings in the Balkans and Anatolia, cutting off Byzantium from allies and isolating Constantinople from reinforcement. Desperate attempts to secure Western aid, including appeals to the papacy and proposed unions with the Roman Catholic Church, were largely unsuccessful or deeply unpopular, further illustrating the empire's vulnerability and the growing rift between East and West. By 1453, the city of Constantinople, though still impressive in architecture and fortifications, had a population reduced to roughly 50,000 to 70,000 inhabitants, surrounded by Ottoman-controlled territory and defended by a small garrison of soldiers and volunteers led by the last emperor, Constantine the Palaiologos. The Ottomans assembled a formidable army estimated at over 80,000 troops, along with massive siege cannons, including the legendary bombard designed by the Hungarian engineer Orban, capable of battering the Theodosian walls that had withstood centuries of sieges. On May 29, 1453, after weeks of continuous bombardment, mining, and assault, Ottoman forces breached the city's walls and Constantinople fell. Emperor Constantine V is reported to have died fighting in the breach, his final moments immortalized in legend as the city's defenders were overwhelmed by a superior force, marking the definitive end of the Byzantine Empire and the final chapter of Roman imperial continuity. The fall of Constantinople not only altered the balance of power in the eastern Mediterranean, establishing the Ottomans as a dominant empire, but also sent shockwaves through Europe, inspiring exploration and the search for new trade routes, while the flight of Byzantine scholars to the west helped fuel the Italian Renaissance by transmitting classical knowledge preserved over centuries. Despite its political and military demise, the Byzantine Empire's legacy endured in law through Justinian's Corpus Juris Civilis, in the Eastern Orthodox Church's religious traditions and theology, in the preservation and transmission of Greek and Roman learning, and in monumental architecture, such as the Hagia Sophia, which stood as a testament to the empire's engineering, artistic, and spiritual achievements. The empire's history demonstrates the interplay of resilience and vulnerability, showing how strategic location, military innovation, and administrative sophistication allowed Byzantium to survive for over a millennium, even as it contended with successive waves of invaders, internal strife, and economic pressures. It also highlights the ways in which religion and society were intertwined with political and military life, shaping both policy and culture, while never fully insulating the state from the consequences of external conquest and internal decay. In reflecting on the Byzantine Empire, one sees not merely a tale of conquest and loss, but a civilization that bridged antiquity and the medieval world, preserving knowledge, law, faith, and art, influencing both Eastern and Western Europe and leaving an enduring imprint on global history. Its dramatic rise from the Eastern Roman inheritance, centuries of military campaigns, administrative reforms, theological debates, urban and cultural development, and eventual fall under the Ottoman onslaught, create a story of human ambition, resilience, and fragility that continues to captivate historians, scholars, and audiences alike, reminding us that the echoes of empires can resonate long after their walls have crumbled, that the vision of emperors and the courage of citizens can shape the course of centuries, and that the memory of Byzantium, in all its complexity, grandeur, and tragedy, remains an indispensable chapter in the history of civilization. Byzantium's story echoes across time, reminding us that even the greatest empires are mortal, yet their ideas and influence can shape the world long after their fall. If you found this journey through history fascinating, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more explorations of our shared past, and leave a comment below telling us which moment of Byzantine history amazed you the most. Your support helps keep history alive, and we can continue uncovering the echoes of our past.